Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pac-12 Chat Show Live here on the Voice of College Football channel. I'm Tony here with Tim and Chris. Rick is unfortunately with some family tonight and can't be with us, but he did send his picks so we can hold him accountable for them. Guys, how's your week going?
Oh, okay. Yeah, good, man. Good Thanksgiving. Hope you guys both had a good holiday weekend as well. A little behind on the work stuff that no one cares about, but we'll get there. And
How
looking
was
forward to talking some football. Actually, or like less likely, less looking forward to than I was, after week 3 of this season as a UCLA fan. But
as Trojan loves hear you on that.
Yeah, sorry, what were you gonna ask?
I was gonna say, how was the split family Thanksgiving with the Cal win and the Bruin loss?
Oh, so by split family, I want you to know about like the mom's wearing UCLA gear, just so we're clear where those allegiances lie. But no, I mean I told you this before jokingly, but it was true. It was like my dad literally said to me, "It wasn't even fun to win. You look miserable watching Chip Kelly."
That's great. Oh, well, guys.
But other than that, it was really good.
other than that, other than the planes flying over Westwood with the Fire Chip Kelly banners. Well, what a week it was. This was for many teams the final games of the Pac-12. That night in the Rose Bowl when the lights went off for the Pac-12 for most of the teams. And so this is the funeral week of the Pac-12 as the conference lays in state in Las Vegas and gets ready for that final championship game here this week between Oregon and Washington. So it's pretty sad. The Pac-12 funeral is upon us. Is it weird?
It is. Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Well, no, I was going to say, now that it's actually becoming finalized, maybe it's just got numbness. I don't know, Tony and Chris, I don't know about you, but it's still not real to me.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's real.
We'll be playing Purdue or someone, down the road, and I'm just sitting there going, remember we used to play Oregon State? Remember we used to go to Corvallis?
Did any of you guys get a glimpse of our future when you watched Iowa play Nebraska? Did either of you have a chance to watch that game? Especially
it seems like we can score some points on those teams.
It was hilarious, though. I watched. It was a battle of who they both kept trying to lose, and neither. I was joking as we're watching the game. I was like, I don't know if they even want to try to do something here with a minute left because they're just as likely to throw an interception and lose on a field goal. And
sure enough,
literally they went back and forth between the 40s throwing interceptions to each other until one of them happened to break a play and kick a field goal to win the game. But it was gross.
It was so gross.
But also it was a kind of the car wreck you can't look away from, right? It was also one of the most fascinating games I've watched all year. For all the wrong reasons. Anyway, I'm not looking forward to going to the Big Ten because I think we're going to suck. But besides that,
well, I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be fun. But we had another piece of news this week. I don't know if you guys heard in terms of what happens next. The Washington Supreme Court has weighed in and put on hold the plan for the Pac-2 to take over the conference. So you heard that they had initially put a temporary stay. They now have a full stay of that court decision in until the Washington Supreme Court decides whether it wants to hear the case, what it wants to do with the case, it wants to send it somewhere else. So, guys, I don't know about you guys. I think it's time to settle this mess. I think the Pac-12 needs to get out of court and just be done with itself.
Yeah, I don't know enough to know about it, right? But it seems like there should be able to. You can do probabilistic outcomes of court cases, and then times the money that people think that they need to get, and then come to I'm sure there's enough math people involved at these institutions that someone should be able to figure out whatever number needs to be. But obviously, they haven't come to an agreement on that. Maybe. Yeah, I have no idea.
I think it's time.
And I don't know what other news stories we're planning to talk about this week before we get into the game. But like the Beavs are a resilient bunch. I'll just put it that way.
The Beavs are a resilient bunch. Let's talk about the new Beaver in chief. A new head coach, Coach Jonathan Smith, goes to Michigan State. And do you want the honors of talking about the new Beaver in chief?
I know Tim likes him.
With Bray?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a mixed bag because he's been a little while. I think he's a great pickup for the Beavs to hang on to him. It was kind of telling when he wasn't initially listed among the guys that were going to Michigan State. But he gave USC fits last year with when we had our good offense, right? That was one of the few defenses that actually was able to stop USC with Jordan Addison. It took a last minute hoax by Addison actually to win that game up in Corvallis on a late catch on a hole shot. That was brilliant throw, but it was a tight game. And, and Bray was the architect of that. Stopping USC's offense this year, not so difficult. Last year, what Bray did was pretty damn amazing.
Yeah. So my take is I think hiring a head coach a lot of times is a crapshoot no matter who you hire. And he's above a minimum threshold of the type of guy that's never head coached before to think that he has a chance. And I think that it's by far the best way for them, together with I see them trying to raise money on Twitter for for their NIL and trying to keep kids and whatnot to have them not get poached. I think it's probably the best chance they have to keep as many people intact as they can, right? Promoting from within and hoping that, along with an established person, because they can all leave, right? As soon as one, as soon as your head coach takes a different job, you get a free pass to go anywhere, right? So, I think it's by far the best hire. I mean, who knows what they will. I think they will probably lose less in the portal maybe than UCLA does, although they have some better people that people might want and might tamper with and all that good stuff, because that's something that definitely goes on, right? They're already talking about Cam Ward having 7 schools that are talking about giving him $1 million and all this other stuff. So I'm sure that people have tried to talk to Damian Martinez and tried to talk to Childs and tried to pluck some guys from there. But hats off to the Beaver fans and their administration, both along with the upsetness, right? Immediately pivoting from that and trying to do the best they can to, it seems, keep what they have intact and keep going, because right now it is a good thing and hopefully they can keep it going.
Well, and it's hard, sometimes when you have a program that's reeling, taking that assistant coach is the best thing. And if you need to get rid of them in a year or two, you can do that. I mean, I really think that where USC was when they hired Clay Helton at first, when they moved him from interim to full, they were reeling. They were their 4th coach in 2 years. And sometimes having somebody that can give you a little stability makes a difference. And then if hopefully Oregon State will not hold on to him as long as USC held on to Clay Helton if it doesn't work out. But I mean, he's an Oregon State player, beloved figure in the community, and I hope it works out for him.
And I'm not sure. I mean, because I don't know which show it was on or how many weeks ago it was, but when it was seeming like the Beavs were going to be left behind, I said of all the coaches, I know he's a Beaver through and through, but the man's also got a family, he's got a career, and I mean, there's one thing to go down with the ship, but that honestly, he's too talented. Where Oregon State's going, whether Oregon State wants to hear that right now or not. A guy and he's a Beaver, and they should want the best for him. A guy like Jonathan Smith should be allowed He gave that program all he had. It wasn't his fault that this conference decided to implode on itself. So, it's strange that it's Michigan State, because Chris and I talked about this before, that he's a Southern California guy. There's this school right across town from USC that desperately needs a coach, and it just couldn't happen. So, but it was inevitable. This was inevitable.
I think it's nice for them with Bray. He is one of their guys too. They went from one of their guys to another one of their guys, and they're able to at least keep that continuity.
Yeah, on the bright side, and it doesn't give any solace, right? But I'm at the point where I would love to have one of my coaches be wanted by another program and hired away, because then it means we'd have some modicum of success that other people are envious of. So yes, it sucks, but one, I agree with your point, Tim, that he does have to do what is in his best interest overall, and it sucks, but I get why he's doing it, although I would have wished it would have been somewhere else, although that other somewhere else is inept.
Is not currently open.
And then I had something else and I can't remember. Oh, yeah. But the second point is that, the fact that he got hired away is credit to what Oregon State has accomplished, especially the last 2 years. And you could see it the year before, but the last 2 years especially have been great seasons. And again, UCLA hasn't had a football coach be wanted to be hired by someone else other than fake agent rumors, probably, right? That since the time I've been a fan. So kudos on that. At least it means that you've had a level of success.
Wild times in Corvallis. Well, gang, shall we talk about the game of the week? The last Pac-12 game coming up. The Pac-12 championship in Las Vegas Friday night on this. Well, it's not on the strip. It's off the strip, I guess. Legion Stadium, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on ABC. Number 3, Washington. Number 5, Oregon. Looks like the winner's going to the playoffs. Boys, who do we have in the last Pac-12 game?
You're on mute, I think.
Sorry, I had a coughing fit. Sorry about that. So just seeing the 3 and the 5 there, and anyone's been watching these two teams, like two ships passing in the night, with that really great game they had, the field, and then what's happened to both of them since then. You've got Oregon continuing to show that on both sides of the ball, they're the cream of the crop in the Pac-12. And then you got Washington continuing to show just flaws and flies in the ointment. Just things about the. Remember, I was talking to Tony, who's always has to deal with me turning in my picks way too late in my power rankings. But I said to Tony, and it's been a little side conversation I have with Tony. He's on the rankings. I mean, I've been so disenchanted. I'm not getting into it right now, but this one I'm looking at it going, we have one very good team. We have one, we have one great team, one very good team. Then we have 7 teams with that are severely flawed. I mean, severely flawed, not middle right. 7. And then 3 very bad teams, really. This, I don't think, I had a lot of high hopes because based off of last year, what the Pac-12 would be this year and the preseason, and we beat up on a lot of nobodies and things. I think all the teams in that middle 7 that I'm talking about have shown just have severe flaws that can be exposed by, mediocre teams. They could play great one week and then just be exposed the next week because of what's going on their team. But Washington to me has been exposed. I'm not anyone that knows me knows I am not a Duck supporter in any way, shape, or form. But just watching them play, they just look like a well-oiled machine. They're both lines are looking great, which is great football. They're skill players. They got filth of talent. They got probably the most talent. They probably do have the most talent in the Pac-12, and it shows up on Saturdays. And as much crap as I've given Dan Lanning over the past, year or so, he's got these guys playing top ball. And the only way that they lose this game, or the only way Oregon loses this game, is they come out and lay an egg. And they're just See, but with Bo Nix, he doesn't throw the ball downfield, so there's not, he's not going to turn the ball over a lot. And they're efficient in their passing game. They take what they can get. They got that offensive line they can run behind. And Washington's shown that it's struggling on defense right now. So I just don't see there's any way that Washington wins this game. And when you see Washington number 3 and Oregon number 5, that's just simply lazy voting. I thought with this new age of the playoffs that they were going to look at the evidence, not just go off of ranks and wins and losses. They were actually going to look at these teams, and they clearly haven't. Because I don't think there's anybody can tell me right now that Washington's a better team than Oregon. I would love to hear the argument.
So
anyway,
they're not, but they're more deserving.
And they won.
And they won on the field. Agreed. Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying they're a better team. I'm just saying the two teams played and one of them won.
Well, how many weeks ago was that? 5-6 weeks ago.
Well, you're about to hear my pick in just a minute, but
I do.
I'm like that, by the way. I'm all about on the field. I don't care what Tim thinks on the eyeball test. That team won on the field. But I'm saying, well, we're going to find out this weekend. That was 5 weeks ago. Where are these teams now? And I think that's what's going to be interesting, Tell.
All right. I mean, I thought I've had Oregon number 1 in the power rating since week 2 or 3 or whatever.
You are the OG duck lover.
And I do think that
the OG quack.
I do think that they're the best team in the conference, but I don't have an issue with Washington being ranked ahead of them for voting purposes, because regardless of what our eyes or the computer say, you have to reward people for winning on the field. So Washington, I'd have to put Washington ahead of them. I think maybe, and I don't know how much more there is to talk about this game other than the fact that the game in Seattle was awesome. I hope we're treated to something similar. But it's interesting to me with Washington. I don't know, you have the flu rumors excusing a couple of weeks. Then what was I've saw glimpses of it, but what was the deal with Penix at the end of the game? Is he hurt? Is he fine? At the end of the Apple Cup was kind of weird, right?
He was in an equipment machine.
Other than just trying to hide from not seeing the end of game field goal to make sure they made it and not wanting to jinx it or whatnot. I think pretty sure the rest of the stadium and us at home knew that Washington won before Penix did, because he was in the equipment thing. But I think the Ducks are the better team, and I think they win, because I think they're more well-rounded. But I still think that Washington's a great team and has more than, it's not like Washington has no chance. I'm not writing them off completely. They're undefeated for a reason. And I don't care who you are, who you've played, or how you've looked. Going 12-0 is not an easy thing to do, and that should be rewarded. And all the respect to Washington. But I happen to think that Oregon is a better team, and the line says that too, right? It's 9 or something, which you surprised me. I think it's probably maybe about right, but I thought it was going to be more 6.5 or something. But it's interesting. The other interesting question to me is, if Florida State loses and Oregon barely beats Washington, is there a good argument that they should both be in the playoff?
Well, it's all independent of the SEC and Ohio State. There's a lot of issues there, I think there is. But
assuming everything else holds court with,
do we think Boo Corrigan is going to take it away from the SEC?
I think,
even though he's from the ACC?
Yeah, let's assume Georgia wins, and I don't want to get into every hypothetical scenario, but assume Georgia wins and Michigan wins like they're supposed to, and then Oregon barely beats. Oregon barely beats Washington, and Florida State happens to lose to Louisville.
And depends on Texas and all kinds of stuff.
Well, yeah, say Texas blows out whoever they're playing. Yeah, am I going to watch?
Texas will probably blow the doors off them.
Am I going to watch Texas? I don't know if they will. They're playing Oklahoma State. I don't know how that game's going to go. I haven't looked at it close enough. But The question I have, is whether you squeeze 2 in, or if I watch Texas just deprive another Pac-12 team of a major accomplishment like they did with Cal in the Rose Bowl.
If this were the SEC, they would be arguing as to why Arizona deserved to be in.
Oh, that's well, no, it's actually there's already some of that, right? It's the whole reason. I would argue it's the whole reason Tennessee is ranked and Utah isn't.
Yeah.
Is because it buffers the schedule of the people that they're trying to set up to get in, depending on how things go in their conference championship game. Because there's no reason Tennessee should be ranked ahead of Utah, in my opinion.
Well, Rick says Oregon by 9. Or Oregon by 10, I'm sorry. So Rick says Oregon to win and Oregon to cover. I've got a little back and forth in this. I'll tell you the team that Washington reminds me of. They remind me of last year's TCU team, where they just have this sort of magical luck. They have a great team. They keep pulling it out when they pull it out. They've won games they shouldn't have won. They've won the big games and they're undefeated. They're marching to it. The question is, will that luck run out? And I mean, if you think about like the TCU team last year, they went into the conference championship and lost. But then that very, very, very deeply flawed TCU team went into the playoffs, and against Michigan, Michigan played the chicken dance song. Michigan just laid an egg and TCU won. So it's not inconceivable to me that Washington wins this game.
Oh, it's definitely not inconceivable, even though I'm picking the Ducks. I would say that this Washington team is, I understand the parallel in terms of like winning a bunch of close games and whatnot, but I think this Washington team is better than that TCU team.
They probably are. Yeah,
I think that TCU team went on an all-time like great run given what they were.
Well, and they also played a lot weaker schedule. The TCU team did. And I'm just using it as a parallel of like the fact that a team that look at the Washington USC game that was just an absolute shootout. Look at the Washington Oregon game that they won. The Washington State game. Whatever on earth that Arizona State Washington game was up in Seattle. I don't even know words to describe that crap show.
They're a really good team. They went into Pasadena and I hear you.
Yeah, so but I mean they've won. So that with that said, would not surprise me if Washington goes on and wins. With that said, I think Oregon is just rolling. And I'm giving a no. I'm taking the Ducks. See that, Ben? There you go. Ben, you got a big O for Oregon.
So bigger question. Do you think, and Tim can answer this too. I think he's a little coughing issue, but
hope you're feeling
better. Do you guys think that that Oregon is good enough to win the whole thing? I do.
In all honesty, I don't know what's going on. Michigan's looking good, but not perfect. Georgia's looking good, but not perfect. Texas is good, but not perfect. Oregon's good, but not perfect. They good. I mean, I'll tell you what, if you talk about a playoff that has hypothetically, Georgia, Washington or Oregon, Texas, Florida State, Michigan, any combination of that, guys, those are going to be some awesome games.
I agree. And maybe we're talking about both these teams next week, but I'm excited to see what happens Friday night. And if it's even half as good as the game earlier this year, then that's awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But sorry, I'll keep it brief so I don't go back into another coffee fit. No, I think I told you, Chris, a couple of weeks ago. I said that they're so damn good they're starting to look like they actually could win the whole thing. So this is a legitimate Oregon team. There's no doubt about that.
All right. Well, with that, shall we take a look at our final power rankings, guys?
Indeed.
And as we do that, real quick, I'm going to put the link up here. If anyone wants to call into the show, We'd love to hear from you. We'll put the link there. We just put the link in the chat as well. So we'd love to hear from you. And let's dig into our power ranking. So let's do it a little differently this time, guys. Instead of just going straight up and down, let's just do each of ours, and we'll go through them. So we'll start with Rick. Rick tells us he finishes up his Pac-12 power rankings. He's got Colorado and Stanford on the bottom. Moving on up, ASU, Wazoo, Cal, USC, UCLA, Utah, Oregon State, Arizona, Washington, Oregon. What do we think about Rick's picks here, guys?
I see no giant issues. I think I might have like a couple people in different places to make sure that I make as many SC people as angry as possible in the last week of doing this. But other than that, I mean, yeah, we can split hairs on some of these when we have like a couple more up and see where people were different. But like generally, I think there's nothing outrageously like egregious or anything about it. I generally agree.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a hodgepodge. I told you my feelings on this, Tony, a couple weeks back. I feel the same way now.
Exactly. All right. So who's next? Let me see. I forgot the order I put him in. Chris, you're next. All right, Chris, very similar, except you give some extra love to Cal. And you have Stanford below Colorado. Chris, do you believe in Prime?
No, I don't. Speaking of which, that ex-offensive coordinator got fired and was so good that he has a head coaching job already. I think San Diego. I think that's going to make San Diego State.
It's hard to beat getting demoted and then a new head coaching job.
I think, I think San Diego. I think that's going to make San Diego State good, fun to watch too. I don't know if they'll be good, but I think they'll at least be fun to watch and a lot more fun. We played them this year, and they were, pretty one-dimensional in our game against them. And I think he might sling it around a little bit more, and it might be an entertaining product down in San Diego. But I think the only difference, the only thing that's going to pop out to people is Cal 6, right? And that's mostly based off of them kicking UCLA's ass and the fact that the last time we saw SC on the field, they got beat by UCLA. SC obviously has way more talent than most of the teams ahead of it until you get up to like the 1 and 2 range, right? But the way it's looked and
it was not good.
And it's not like they blew. I understand it was at Berkeley and whatnot, but it's not like they blew Cal out. I don't know. SC just didn't seem interested in playing UCLA, and UCLA in turn didn't feel interested in playing Cal.
And Cal was not interested in playing defense against USC. So,
but if anyone wants to put UCLA lower than I did, I'm not going to argue with you, because like if you lose to Cal and ASU at home in 2 of your last 3 games, the fact that you beat SC, contrary to our administration's opinions, shouldn't really matter. Anyway, you can put us as low as you want, and I wouldn't really argue with you.
All right, Tim has got very similar.
I just told Tony to leave my thing from last week because no one's done crap, and the people who we think they are pretty much is who they are. Yeah, I would probably drop UCLA down below Arizona, but I'm so over this season. So there we go. I'm going to keep it the way it is. Those 7 teams in the middle there, they could, you could just throw chicken bones and figure out who's there. The ones on the bottom are just a mess.
Well, guys, I broke the rules. In the middle of mine is a section called "What is Wrong with You?"
Yeah, no. I like that, except I don't.
In the "What is wrong with you" category,
I don't know what's wrong with what is wrong with Cal. I don't think anything's necessarily wrong, other than
they probably should be better. They
lost some close games, right? Like
they should not have lost.
think how differently we're kind of talking about this Cal team if they beat that Auburn, if they win that Auburn game that they should have won, and they get the 2-point conversion against SC. All of a sudden, that's an 8-4 Cal team. I know you can do that with like every team in every game. You can do that with Wilcox a lot over past seasons.
You definitely can do that with Wilcox.
But they're pretty happy up there right now. I think with
they're so excited to be going to a bowl game.
They are, and it's interesting. It's been a while, and it's not compared to like as high as they have been before and want to be when they've raised their head high. But yeah, no, Oski's happy to be going to a bowl, and I'm happy for them.
I think most USC fans are like, can we have the practices without the bowl game? Do we have to go play in a bowl game?
I don't know if we'll be able to field a roster by that point, but we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
I say that like half jokingly, but it's interesting. I wonder if anyone has ever with the fact that people can freely transfer after a coach gets hired somewhere else. Like, I mean, I guess you're gonna have enough kids that want to play, but I wonder if you ever get this kind of situation of such a mass exodus that like a team can't even field a team. That would be terrible. And they might have to rethink when the portal opens or whatnot. If you're having teams that are just like half a roster going into a bowl game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. All right. Well, with that, we have our first caller waiting to join us. Let's welcome Sean to the show. Sean, welcome.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Hey, Sean.
I've been better.
Hey, congrats, Tim and Rick. You've been out of your pain for a little bit. Feel a little bit of your misery. So something foreign. I don't quite get what's going on this weekend. The Pac-12 this week, the two best teams in the conference are playing for the championship. Is that correct?
Yep.
Probably.
Not even close.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, that's a weird concept coming from Big Ten country. I don't quite get this.
Yeah. And real quick to your point, just to add on to it, is like in a conference that's like known for its parity over the years, right? It's kind of interesting that in the last year, the teams that were the best, didn't stumble except against except for the fact that they lost against each other. So yeah, like you didn't have a team like Arizona squeaking in at the end, which was possible if Washington lost.
If
Oregon lost, yeah. Sorry.
Well, and under the old system, which
they would have been in. Right.
Yeah, the Big Ten did not get rid of its divisions. Under our old system of divisions, Arizona would have been in.
Yeah, that's you guys get a great national quarterfinal match that everyone that might be the game of the week in college football, and the Big Ten, the Big Ten gets a celebration fest where 90% of the people can be drunk before the game. And
some folks are saying, which I loved hearing, that the Big Ten has a semifinal this year because the Big Ten has two semifinals, one in Indy and one in Vegas, and the winner may play in Pasadena.
Yeah, but Sean, I had to say, this game was played weeks ago between these two teams. You guys just played.
Yeah.
And one team won. I mean, really.
Right. No question. But does it really matter when they played? I mean, if you had a different format, like maybe
I personally don't like to see teams play like a week later.
And not just that. I mean, it's like the things, team can get better over the course of the season, but like literally you guys just played and it was decided on the field. Then you rubber match it and you beat Michigan, then Michigan doesn't go to the playoffs and it's 1-1. I mean, what sense would that make?
No, it wouldn't make any sense. But anything is better than Michigan against the 133rd ranked offense in the country.
Well,
Anything is better.
that is entirely an Iowa problem because that team is 10-2.
Yeah. Well, that's a Big Ten West problem. You can't put anybody that can score 17 points against anybody. You score 17 points against Iowa, you're going to win 90% of the time. I mean, and a capable, competent offense should score 17 against anybody.
But they don't.
No.
Open the Big Ten West. Well, help is on the way to the Big Ten West.
Yeah.
Outside 3 offenses, that's pretty much the Big Ten, isn't it?
I wish we were keeping divisions, Tony.
I know, right?
Yeah. So I just want to say, like, I mean, it seems like all public sentiment is in Oregon's favor going into this game. And I would love to be a contrarian, but I just don't see anything from Washington over the last month that leads me to think they're going to be.
And I'm not being contrarian in this either. They keep winning.
Yeah.
Now, at some point, does Cinderella? Does the clock strike midnight and Cinderella turns back into pixie dust? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
but they keep winning.
Generally, if you're continually beating average teams, scraping by average teams, the comeuppance comes when the big dogs come calling.
But they've already beaten the big dog.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They did.
I don't know.
Scenario. But they both look. I mean, I don't even know. Oregon's looked really good ever since the Texas Tech game. I think they've had a very consistent, very solid year.
Yeah,
Washington, I don't know what's exactly going on with Penix, but he has not looked anything close to a Heisman contender the past month, and the team kind of lives or dies with him. I don't know if he's dealing with injuries or anything, but it's hard for me not to see Oregon sort of running away with this. That's my call on it. And wanted to touch on the Michigan State Jonathan Smith situation here.
What do you think? Great hire for them?
Well, I kind of spoke this into existence on this program here.
You did.
So I don't deserve full credit, obviously, but maybe like 75, 80%.
You will give you full credit.
Awesome. Yeah, no, phenomenal. Just could not have done better as a hire. There, this guy's in just be very.
I'll tell you, he reminds me his spirit reminds me a lot of Duffy.
Oh, really?
He makes me feel like this is probably as close as they've had to Duffy in my lifetime.
See, I thought he reminded me a lot of D'Antonio too. Like I kind of feel like he has a similar sort of.
Yeah, he has some D'Antonio in him.
Similar character to it.
I think he'll be good for them. I think he's really excited for them. I do feel bad for the Oregon State fans because one of the things he's almost been like too.
Well, you feel bad for me too. I am so pissed right now.
No, I don't feel bad for you at all. I don't feel bad for you in the slightest.
You spanked us. You don't get any sympathy from us.
Yeah, until the victory bell is back home, no sympathy for you.
I mean, who knows what people say, right? But there's enough smoke in what I've heard that if we called, he's at least picking up the phone. But we can't get out of our own way. No. Anyway, great hire. Sorry, go ahead, continue. Yeah,
and is Chip? I mean, is he safe for now? I mean, I would feel like the moves would have already been made for sure.
Correct.
Yeah, he's safe.
For all, unless there would have to be some earth-shattering event, or I think if we lose, all of a sudden we lose. Right now, we've had 3 people go to the transfer portal, and unfortunately, they're kind of players. They're actually good. It's not guys leaving because they're not good enough. Maybe some of them think they're mismanaged or misused or whatnot. And at least thankfully for us, there's a lot of people that have transferred in, so they can't transfer out unless they want to sit a year. But I think it's very possible, at least there's rumblings of it, that there could be and every team has teams, players leave out of the portal, but there's a very good chance that there's a good number of people that leave, and who knows? I hope that's not true, but it might be. And if it is, then I think if that gets so bad that the school literally has no choice, then they will. But as of right now, he will be the coach for 2024 to lead UCLA into like a 3-9 season or something.
I just think that the Bruins need to slow down, give Chip a little more time. They're forgetting he's coming off an 8-win and 9-win seasons before this. Give him a couple more years to figure it out, Chris.
Tim, the lines are going to be like Colorado bad.
Do you remember the Helton years?
I almost wish that Sean Lewis was our head coach next year, because he could actually like scheme around it, maybe like he did with Colorado the first few weeks. Our lines are. Do we have like our front seven might lose like 10 guys just from like graduation / going to the league and or leaving, but like a lot of them are just old and done, right? Like Latu will go to the league, the Murphys will be gone. It's going to be rough. It was going to be rough next year anyway, just on line play alone and like the lack of depth, because we haven't recruited what we need to necessarily on the over the past like 3 or 4 years. So there is no like, next guy up. It's there's not the quantity, much less like I won't speak to the quality because I haven't seen them play. But yeah, no, there's not enough dudes there. It was going to be rough anyway, and the vibes are, in addition to that, just very bad right now.
Yeah, I honestly I just don't
no
feel
sympathy until the bell comes home.
No, I honestly just don't know if I feel like Chip has like sort of the energy to maintain in this college football environment. I don't know if he really wants to work that hard and wants to hit the trails, wants to work with boosters, which you kind of have to do in the NIL era.
I agree with you, and I don't know if the school does either.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a problem if both the school and the coach are kind of moving in the wrong direction and falling further behind the times. But one last thing.
I have a question for Tony for that later, but we can save it. I keep cutting you off. I apologize.
No. Go ahead. I actually want to hear your question.
Okay, so Tony, I have a question for you. How much validity versus like made up excuses is a situation where the chancellor will be leaving, and them all just kind of putting an axe on this because we're gonna have a new chancellor in a year. It's very possible that our athletic director is leaving soon.
We did that too.
You can have him, by the way, at Ohio State if you'd like.
No, Chris, if you go back to 2019, that's literally the situation that we were in. We had an acting president because the president got canned after there was a terrible situation in the student health center, and the president got fired. He didn't hide it or anything. He just got fired because it was bad. And so there was an acting president, and they needed to fire Clay Helton. They also needed to fire Lynn Swann, but they were bringing in a new president. And so the acting president basically sacrificed that football season because she knew that the new president needed to get a new AD and a new coach. And the result was we got Mike Bone and then Jen Cohen, and then we got Lincoln Riley. And that comes from that process of saying there's gonna be a new president and a new AD. So in your case, yeah, there is gonna be a new chancellor, and if they think there's gonna be a new AD, right now, that job is, and I'm not in the search committee world or anything like that, but the public people that yap about this stuff say that job has 3 leading candidates at Ohio State: Heather Lyke, Martin Jarmond, and Pat Chunt. Now, they could hire him. Who knows who they'll get? But it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Go Martin.
So,
all right. Anything else, Sean?
Yeah, just a quick update on the USC DC search. What's the latest on that?
Nobody knows. And actually, from what I'm told, literally nobody knows. They're saying not to listen to the people who are like, sources tell me, blah, blah, blah. Every single one of those people has been wrong.
You mean the people all pining over the fact that like Jim Leonard is coming, tomorrow every single day?
Every day. Tomorrow.
Every day there's a different thing that's like
Jim Leonard. Tomorrow. I mean, I'll tell you personally, and this I would love nothing more than like 2 minutes from now to have a Pete Thamel tweet that says Jim Leonard's coming. I don't think Jim Leonard's coming because I think he would already be there. I could be wrong.
Yeah, right. I agree with you. It's like, one, he's just an analyst at Illinois. He can leave anytime he wants. And two, like the guy was getting interviewed by the Eagles last year and was like rumored with the Packers and like up for the Wisconsin head coaching job. Yes, USC is a great, a great spot, and you can make a lot of money and raise your and do all that great stuff. And I would have to imagine there's good defensive coordinators that you can get, but I feel like he is past that and perhaps more of an NFL guy anyway. And so it would personally surprise me, but if you do hire him, then I will be terrified.
Yeah, my thought is if he wanted that job, he could have it. If Jim Leonard is not the defensive coordinator at USCO because he chose not to take it, is that your feeling too?
Or it possibly could be. Well, here's the other option: is the man has options.
Yeah, of course.
Now, USC can't wait around, but just because he hasn't jumped at the chance, he might be waiting for other opportunities out there. So to say, well, if he doesn't have by now, then he's probably not coming. No, what logic does that follow? He's not under a timeline. USC wants to get it done as quick as possible. But is that in his best interest? And obviously, if USC is willing to wait for him, and there's not many options out there right now, and there will be coming soon. But right now, he doesn't have to worry about someone else taking a job. I think he's playing for a bet. This could be just negotiation. There could be a lot of things going on. I
would be highly surprised. I would love to be surprised. I would love to be surprised. I would just be very surprised.
Yeah, I'm just not saying that this shows us that he's not coming. I'm not saying it's a good sign. Obviously, if he jumped right, he had the opportunity to jump at it and take the job. There's clearly some gray area, which leads to a lot of doubt that he is coming. But it doesn't mean he's not coming, is all I'm saying.
I fully agree with that. I agree with everything you just said there. Definitely. But real quick, Tony and Tim, you have an ideal number one plan B.
Not Jimmy Lake.
Isn't that impossible given
I don't know.
Your athletic director?
Listen, you say it's impossible. Bobby Petrino just got rehired by Arkansas. Okay? Bobby Petrino, he should have come up in the press conference in the neck brace. Henry Kissinger died. The next thing we know, Edward Snowden will be back as like the new director of the NSA, and maybe Jen Cohen will hire Jimmy Lake.
No, wait, yeah, isn't that amazing? He got rehired. Bobby Petrino got rehired at both Louisville and Arkansas.
It's beyond me. I can't even go there. Yeah.
But Tim, you have an ideal B guy?
My ideal B guy looks like he's going to be staying around staying at Baylor. Yeah. So that was my ideal guy. There are a number of guys out there, and I don't have an ideal one. I mean, all things being equal, I would have loved Jimmy Lake, but what they're talking about, it's going to make him to be a hard hire.
Can't imagine. I mean, dude shoved a kid into a locker or whatever. Like, I can't imagine we're going to hire him. I mean, and none of that. Our AD fired his sorry ass for shoving a kid. I've read the text that we got from Foya, like, of her investigation. I've read her emails about it. Like, I can't imagine she's going to be like, you know what? That time that I almost got fired because my dumbass hire shoved a kid into a locker room. Oh, by the way, while absolutely sucking as a coach, I should hire that guy. That's the guy I need to save my job again. Now, again, all these lists I read from Thortheth seem to say Jimmy Lake is a candidate. I just can't fathom. And maybe Jen Cohen is not who I think she is, but I can't fathom Jen Cohen hiring that guy.
Yeah, it's outside of Cohen. He's a lights out recruiter. and a good defense. He was a co-defensive coordinator, and he did a solid job. But again, for the things you just listed, it makes it very difficult for me to believe that he's going to get hired.
Yeah, I can't imagine it.
Any consideration to Tom Allen, the recently fired Indiana coach?
I mean, Tom Allen would not be a wow hire out here on the West Coast and recruiting, and then recruiting wise. But what he was able to do with 3-star guys, and at Indiana, and
yeah.
I don't know. No, I think USC needs to get something bigger, to be honest. His affiliation with the Big Ten, great, but I think there's more important things like, again, recruiting and just being a lights out X's and O's guy.
I think Tim's right.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure. Here,
Right on, Sean.
Thank you.
Rest in peace, back.
All right, we had somebody else waiting and they're gone. Sorry to whoever. We didn't mean to keep you waiting forever. We were having a good chat with Sean. We'll put this up. We got time for another call or so if anybody wants. I'll put the call-in link here in the chat. We'd love to hear from if there's anybody else out there here. Tell us who you think is going to win the last Pac-12 game. I guess there may be Pac-2 games coming in the future. We'll see. That seems to be what's going to happen. They seem to want to have the Pac-2.
Yeah, that's not official yet, is it? The deal with the Mountain West for like $14 million a year or whatever.
No. So the rumor, for you guys who haven't heard it, the rumor is that Oregon State and Washington State will each play, I don't know, like 5 or 6 teams from the Mountain West, and they'll pay the Mountain West $14 million a year for that. And they'll have a schedule of something like, I don't know, like 1 FCS and 6 or 7 G5s and like 4 or 5 power conference teams. So hold on, we got Will joining us here.
What's up,
Will,
guys?
welcome to the show.
Man, it's the last dance for the Pac. I'm excited, guys.
It is, and real quick, as Tim just put the note up there, everybody, if you can hit the thumbs up, it makes a huge difference for the show. It really helps Mark too. So if you can give the show a like, give it a subscribe, it makes a big difference. Will, what do you think about the big game this week?
I'm thinking the Ducks got it just because they've looked so good lately. And the Huskies have been shaky, but you never know.
How big you think they win?
I think I said 14. I mean, Jeffrey's preview.
Probably about right.
Mm-hmm.
I have a really quick non-Pac-12 question for Will.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is Notre Dame going to do when the North Carolina school quarterback pipeline is done, considering you're about to take another one?
Well, our quarterback recruiting recently has actually been good. So, we have 2 Elite 11 quarterbacks, another one that's probably going to be in the Elite 11. I was kind of
coming.
CJ's coming. Kenny's already here. I was hoping we would be able to start Kenny immediately, but it looks like we might want him to have another year of development. Or he could beat out. I mean, I don't know. I think he has a better chance of beating out Riley Leonard than anyone that Sam Hartman was going to compete against. So maybe there'll be a fun quarterback battle, but yeah.
And the one that's about to transfer there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I do feel bad for Duke because they built something really cool and now it's going to filter out really fast. I guess the question for Riley Leonard will be, does he get a homework extension at Notre Dame? My guess would be probably.
It'll be fun. I mean, our first game's going to be against Texas A&M, so that'll be fun. Riley against Elko, so.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Hey, we'll get him in the Coliseum too.
Mm-hmm. I'm really hoping our offense will be better, even though our offensive coordinator is coming back, which makes me sad. But we're getting a new receivers coach, so hopefully that'll help our offense do better.
All right, well, hold on. We got one other person. We'll bring him in here. We'll just bring everybody in. Why not? We got Wounded Wolverine here with us.
Hey.
Wounded Wolverine, what do you think about Washington and Oregon this week?
I can't see any way that Washington wins this game, to be honest.
No?
No. One thing that kind of surprised me, I'm trying to think, Was Troy Franklin a Blitnikoff finalist? Did he get named as a Blitnikoff finalist?
I haven't seen the final list.
I don't know. I don't look at a lot of those things, to be honest with you.
So I was kind of wondering because you had a lot of guys in this game. Between Franklin and Dunze, they should probably both be on there. I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. If you're talking about like top receivers in the country, it's what those two and Maserati Marv, and a couple others. But yeah, no, he's definitely up there. I don't know if his name is getting the same attention.
I'm bringing it up.
I honestly just don't follow the
Dunze
the
is the
awards
final.
season.
I think it's Harrison, Neighbors, and Odunze are the finalists.
Oh, Franklin got snubbed. Whew.
Yeah.
Ooh, I bet that's not a popular one.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of found it surprising that there's like the assistant coach award, right? That like our Lynn, the UCLA defensive coordinator, wasn't
Royals
like,
Award
wasn't really in the running for that at all. He did an incredible job, and he's probably going to make a lot of money somewhere else next year.
Yeah, I think that one. I think Sharon made that one. I think Phil Parker, the DC at Iowa, was up there, and
I would give it to Sharon.
Oh, I think you have to, except for the fact that he's coached as many games as the head coach. So, at what point is he like no longer the assistant?
Well, no, the first games in the season didn't count because it kind of got split. I think it was.
I hold on. The fact that you have to insert like a corrective detail in that, it makes the point for it.
Yeah.
Well, that wouldn't really count. No, that means it.
I mean, technically, I think Jay Harbaugh coached one. I think Jesse Minter coached one, but
oh, that's too funny.
I guess it's really impressive, because I mean, two of those 3 games was against a top 10 team on the road and a top 2 team. So I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Anyway, back to the West Coast. Everybody seems to think Oregon's winning, and I do too. But are we shortchanging the dogs here?
Well, I mean,
I just don't think their defense can stop Bo.
Yet it already did.
I've seen them play down to competition too much that it might end up biting them.
They are definitely being shortchanged. And again, I agree with everyone that I think that Oregon is the better team and Oregon is going to win. But it like bothers me how matter of fact, like presumptively, it's just like, oh yeah, like they hear someone say Washington doesn't have a chance. Seems crazy to me considering I like watched them beat them. And I agree. Like, I agree that Oregon is way better, or not way better. That's way, I need to watch myself. Oregon is better. But like Washington is fully capable of winning this game. It's not like, and it wouldn't be a fluke if they did.
Again.
Right. For the second time.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't.
I don't know. I have a lot of respect for Washington. I think that like, I don't know enough about. I can't say that I've watched enough Bama and Florida State games other than like their bigger national games to have as strong a feeling on them as other people. But just like looking at the records and the schedules and whatnot, I do think a one-loss Washington still has quite an argument, depending on what else happens this weekend.
No.
Fair enough.
No,
you can disagree with me. They have. Is there a better? There's not a better win in the country than them beating Oregon.
You're kidding, right? Okay.
You think that school's good? I thought they were bad at football, and you were just going to demolish them the entire year. So it's not really that big a deal.
What I've been hearing.
No. But I mean,
everybody's been telling me.
I would think that Texas beating Bama by double digits in Tuscaloosa is a better win too. I mean, I would put the.
I don't know about that.
I would put that as probably a third best win personally.
We'll see. It'll be fun.
Now, quick question for Search: is Dante on the portal block, or is he staying around?
Maybe, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about him specifically. Have at it.
I mean, there was talk that he might be, looking for a ticket out. I wasn't sure if it was official yet.
He might look a lot different with a competent, and again, I gotta watch my words. He might look better at quarterback with a better offensive line, but I don't know. He's not. He wasn't, and he didn't end up quite being what I thought he would. It was funny because, like, in week 2 against Coastal Carolina or whatever, threw one of the prettiest balls I've ever seen to J. Michael Sturdivant, who was supposed to be a big deal for us this year, and kind of both of them never ended up being, didn't end up being a lot this year. I think it's hard to ask like a true freshman quarterback to start, and we should have been able to do more even without him playing, and letting him learn and whatnot. But I don't know enough about the inner back workings of what his NIL situation is and who the certain donors donating to the collective to have that paid, where that's going and whatnot. But I do think we're going to have trouble retaining certain people. I don't know if Dante is one of them or not. Just because, one, of people wanting to leave, but two, if people are interested in the NIL thing, I think there's a lot of money moving from the already limited NIL coffers that UCLA has, moving that out of like football NIL and football donations, and people putting that money elsewhere, whether it be basketball or having it earmarked for other sports generally, or just not donating at all. There's like there seems to be a decent sized booster movement of defunding the football program a bit.
Oh, geez.
So yeah, it's possible that he leaves. I don't know the answer though. So that's a long way of telling you I don't know.
Cool.
All right, gang. Well, here, let me put the link in the chat one more time here. We're getting around to that time here, so let me just give the link in the chat one more time if anybody else wants to join in. We'd love your predictions here as we get ready to wrap up. Mike and Will,
can I have
was
one
it weird
more
to watch the final Pac-12 game?
Mm-hmm. Can I ask Chris one more UCLA question?
Go for it.
So, do you think if Martin Jarman, are you worried about him going to Ohio State?
Am I worried about him leaving? No.
Yeah. No.
Like, do I think that he could leave or wants to leave? Yes. Am I necessarily worried about it? No, because I'm sort of indifferent. I think there are good things that have happened. I don't know how much to attribute those successes to him versus a matter of circumstance. Signing with Nike was really good. The deal and the money is way less than we're used to, but we had like absolutely no bargaining power after the whole Under Armour fiasco and the settlement there. But signing with Nike was a lot better than what we had before. And then getting us into the Big Ten is great and all. It's unfortunate if the school is just going to use that to cash a check to fund everything else, and we're not going to be serious about football, which I think is a distinct possibility. But having the foresight, and again, I don't know how much of that is his credit and him, being a part of that, or him talking to, or the powers that are higher of, making that happen. So those are two very, very good things, but have been negatives. He had a very big issue that didn't probably get a lot of national coverage with one of the women's teams that I won't get into the details of, but he kind of, some people would say he hid from that, and it took them calling him out on social media for the issue to be addressed. And then with this coaching search, again, I don't know what other strings are being pulled and what he's limited by, but I don't know. The way he had some kind of thing where after the SC game, there's some fan popping off in his DMs or something silly like that, right? Saying like, okay, beating SC is great, but like, fire Chip Kelly. And instead of just ignoring it or whatnot, he says something along the lines. He says something along the lines of read the room, which I think is funny now because the room now is to move on. But when that happened in the first place, even if he's right, it just doesn't sit well. I'd rather him just not respond at all, kind of like he's doing right now, where he hasn't said anything about this whole thing for like a week. But yeah, I'm not worried about it. If he wants to go, we'll figure something else out, and maybe it won't matter.
Mike, any final thoughts here? We got Connor is on the line and is going to talk Beavs.
No, I'll go ahead and take a back seat. You guys finished up. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for calling. I'm glad to have you. Fight on and go blue.
Thanks. Fight on.
All right. We've got our favorite Beav in chief. We've got Connor with us. Connor, congratulations. Hey. There is a new head Beav.
We got our guy.
You got a great coach.
I'd be remiss to not call in on one of the last Pac-12 chat shows after dark.
Talk to us about your new coach.
It was truly the first bit of good information off the field that we have had since USC and UCLA left for the Big Ten over almost a year and a half ago. Truly, some of the quotes he said today, subtle shots, were fired. And I think you just have to appreciate that he's going to stick around for this team, these players, and he's going to lead us out of this darkness or through this darkness. I think we can put together a schedule for 2 years, which will be kind of fun, 4 or 5. I think it's 5 Power Fives on the schedule. The rest will be Mountain West and I think Idaho State. So there is some hope. He has stopped the hemorrhaging. You can imagine all of our players would have been gone in the portal. So Barnes, our athletic director, his hand was forced by the alumni, by the players, by the boosters. This was the hire, and truly Oregon State has rallied, raised $1 million, the NIL, and just over a month to be matched by the boosters. So you've seen players like Damian Martinez already announced he's coming back. All the players were vocal that if Brave is the guy, that we will keep the majority of this team.
That's great.
We will see about Aiden Childs, our stud quarterback. Rumors are DJ might come back, but there's finally some hope. So I don't know what questions y'all got for me, but I've been deep in it the last week since Smith left.
I can tell you, I think that, credit to Scott Barnes. He got that job filled. I mean, it sounds like he certainly had advanced planning of it, but he got that job filled fast. And I think it was really, really, really important to stop the bleeding.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. I think we went through some formalities. I think we hired 7 guys. Paul Christ's name's been floated around. Neil Brennan from San Jose State. I heard Bronco Mendenhall. So we did some Zoom calls, but at the end of the day, I think Ray knew whether it was for legal reasons to hire or to interview other candidates or not. There's a good video of the announcement in the players' room.
I saw that. That was a great video.
Going wild for Trent Bray. And it's cool because Jonathan Smith, I have a little bit of animosity towards how he left. I understand why he did it, but he was pretty vanilla. He was a CEO, not much energy, I guess. So a guy like Trent Bray, who you can liken him to a Dan Lanning, our rivals down south, or even like a Jake Dickert, just a young defensive mind with the chops. And
Do you know what the whole situation reminds me of?
Notre Dame.
Hey, you got it. That's exactly what I thought. I mean,
Will.
just even the announcement, like the excitement.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love John. I'm excited for Jonathan Smith at Michigan State. You know, go right through for MSU. Like my dad played for Duffy, so I love it. But
You
I
can see that Smith truly made a decision that was about wanting to compete. Like he wants to be one of the top dogs. I see a lot of like, and I'll pump my brakes, but a lot of Nick Saban, or just a guy that's a CEO but just wants to compete and win at the highest level. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I doubt this is
he's the kind of guy who would do that Saban move and move up to Michigan State and then go from Michigan State to LSU or wherever.
Exactly. This was, if he was going to leave his alma mater, it was in search of coaching greatness. So right now we're a little upset at how he did it. And Trent Bray, he had a couple good quotes just about how, because Trent Bray was on the short list to go with him. And one of the reporters asked him when he found out, and he was kind of blindsided too. And he said he didn't like the way he went about it. I forget the quote exactly, but basically he wasn't going to get on the plane with him to go. And, you know, he said another quote, not immediately after, but it's something along the lines of true leaders step up when times get hard. And we, thank God, because the dagger was in our back from the conference. And to have Jonathan Smith, Corvallis' favorite son, to leave, you needed somebody within the program. And if you look around, I mean, y'all are familiar because he was on the short list for USC to be defensive coordinator. He had other opportunities out there, and he said that he has said in the past he didn't want to be a head coach, but this has kind of forced his hand because he's recognized that he has to step in and like
save the program.
Save the program. Pity party aside, I mean, if we can keep the roster, there's a legitimate shot at an expanded playoff in the next 2 years. And that's going to put us in the best case scenario.
I mean, your team's really good. Your team's really good.
Jonathan Smith has put him in a place to where he can just continue the show. And it's exciting to see who he'll bring in on. He said he would hire the offense pretty quick, the offensive coordinator, because he kind of wants to take his time on the defensive side of the ball is his side of the ball. So he wants to get somebody in who's going to lead the offense. But you see from the players, like these guys, most of them are hopefully going to stick around. And it's too early right now, but a schedule with half Mountain West, I've heard rumors, so breaking news, but essentially it's going to be Washington State, Purdue, definitely as Power 4, Power 5 conference opponents. Purdue is already on the non-conference. We went there a couple of years ago, so it's a home and home that'll be finished out. But then I've heard Utah and Oregon as two more, and then that fifth one is kind of up in the air. I've heard Texas Tech, I've heard Notre Dame.
Those would be good.
Wake Forest has an opening now that Army is going into the AAC. So it's kind of exciting just to see. Barnes said it himself. This is going to be a schedule that's good enough where if we win 11 games, 12 games, that's our spot. That's our ticket. And if the team is the same way, this isn't going to be like a normal G5 team next year. This is going to be a team that's ready for the playoffs as long as Bray can make the right hires. And, you know, he announced he's not going to be coaching. And legality, I don't know if he could coach the bowl game, but he's already going to work to find his staff.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
I think because he was announced as the head coach, I don't know if he has to step up. He still can be in the Valley Center. He can be around the players.
I mean, he can do anything he wants. He's the defensive coordinator right now.
Yeah.
And now he's
so
head coach.
He said they asked him this in the press, and he said
Yeah, I
essentially
read about this, and I thought it was the weirdest thing I'd ever heard.
Well, he said that he's got to go find his staff and he's got to recruit. So he has a lot of that hard work. I think also him backing away from Kefense Hinton as the interim. He was the assistant coordinator. He was kind of Jonathan Smith's right-hand man who he left behind, but he was a lot of the play calling. So he'll take over. And I guess Bray's maybe backing away from committing to giving him a spot on his new staff.
Okay.
But there's a lot of seniors, so hopefully, we'll get fired up enough to play. And I think Bray will stick around the program. I mean,
well, and it could be maybe he needs to focus on the rebuilding. I mean,
exactly. That's a tall task.
I mean,
we announced,
and I'll be honest, your whole school needs to focus on the strategic moving forward. You guys need to stop. This is just my personal opinion. Oregon State has people that are too smart to be listening to the people in Wazoo.
Well, I don't know. I haven't heard what Oliver Luck is doing.
What's Kirk Schultz's batting average on major strategic decisions? You know what it is? 0. He's batting 0.000000. That's Kirk Schultz's batting average on major strategic actions.
I would like us to stop attaching ourselves to the hip of Wazoo because they are even in a worse place than we are, further in the middle of nowhere with a bad administrative team who they're hemorrhaging money. But I think the plan as far as a 2-pack, as far as staying put.
Because by the way, real quick, I'm also sick of hearing is that Oregon State's in a suite. You guys are outside of Portland.
Yeah, no,
it's not close. In the middle of nowhere.
No, we share an airport with the Ducks. That's about halfway in between Eugene and Corvallis. So
yeah, the Ducks are way more in the middle of nowhere than you are.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense.
You're right by Nike. You guys are next. You guys are the ones next to Nike. Like,
yeah, Beaverton is right up the road from Corvallis.
I just laugh all the time when people are like, "Oh, well, Oregon State, their market." I'm like, their market's big. Oregon State's market area around the school is bigger than almost everywhere in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, a college town that's near Portland, we're 30 minutes from Salem, the state capital.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, that's just a side. It's a side rant on Oregon State.
No, but it's a good side rant because you hear that is one of the main angles to not inviting us.
Now, Wazoo is like 9 hours from the next human being, but
we are closer to Seattle than Washington State is to Seattle.
Oh, I believe it.
I think we're about 4. They're about 6 hours from.
Yeah, they are so far. They're so far.
And part of I think Oregon State kind of remaining in this too.
And by the way, Pullman is a neat town. I'm not ragging on Pullman. It's just.
No, I mean we're sticking by their side because everybody else has ditched. I think that they have the same chance that we have the next 2 years. But if we do well and make the playoffs the next 2 years, and we get the invite and they don't, I mean, we have to move on. You take it. I don't know what's going to happen in the courtroom, but I think that there will be enough money. Speaking of money, I think it was announced we're only paying Bray $2 million, which sounds light in the bridges.
No, but that's cost effective. That's good.
It cost effective, but he's also a first time head coach. I think Smith was making even a little less when he started.
Well, and here's the other thing:
the pool for the assistants. We're going to have about $5 million in a pool for assistants. So if we can go out there and get, and Bray, his dad was a coach, so he has a lot of connections and he's well respected. He said himself that he's already been fielding like hundreds of texts from people that want to come get in on this thing. With the new stadium, more inside scoop. I heard we're redoing the locker rooms. I heard, this doesn't matter as much for if you're 18 years old. We got all new uniforms lined up for next year. With an independent schedule, you throw a Notre Dame on there, Oregon, Utah, Washington State, Purdue, San Diego State, Fresno State. Like that's still going to be good enough to get you a chance to make it to the playoffs. So, I mean, but outside of these 2 years, like this is why Bray stepped in now, because truly, if we don't make something happen, it'll be fully set. Like there's no coming back from joining the Mountain West. So that's why we're putting it off. A lot of people on Twitter want to say that this is us already seceded or going to join the Mountain West, but it's truly an alliance. We're going to pay them $14 million for 6 games, so a little over $2 million per game per school, which is a high number. I get that, but you know, what else are we going to do?
You also have a lot of money coming in over the next 2 years. Also,
exactly.
There's plenty of money coming in to pay for that.
Somebody's about to make the playoffs for us, so I don't know if you got future money coming in from Washington or Oregon. But I can move on from.
Speaking of that, who do you have in this game? Who are you taking?
I got Oregon. I was
going to say in a game that you're going to have to take a shower after you predict one of these teams to win. But go on.
No, if I'm being unbiased, I think Oregon's probably one of 2 teams that can beat Georgia. The other being Michigan. It's going to be really interesting to see who's in that 4 spot, because automatically one of these teams is going to make the playoffs, in my opinion. Michigan's in if they win. Georgia's in if they win. So you wonder about that last spot. I think if FSU wins, they've already set in stone that they've made it. But if they lose, is it Texas? Is it Ohio State? That's all interesting. But as for this game, I think from what I've seen, Oregon's playing a lot better right now. And I know Washington already won earlier in the year, but I'm going to say I hope it's close. I don't know. I think Oregon is the more likely team to pull away, unless Penix, he could pull a cat out of the bag, whatever that saying is. So I'm not going to doubt Washington, but yeah, I got Oregon.
All right, it'll be a fun one.
Hey,
well, good luck. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if this is the last rodeo or not. A lot is up in the air in the future for us, but I wish ill will on all the traders to end. Nah, I don't know. It's all market economy things that have happened to the Pac-12. It's a slew of issues that has finally come back and bit us, but it's a farewell. Hey, if you're going to go out on a high note, and we certainly have done that. So we'll keep your seats warm for you if you decide to tuck tail and turn back.
I like it. Thank you for that.
Go Beavs.
Go Beavs.
Back the pack for one last show Friday night under the lights in Vegas.
It'll be a good, worthy finale. Hey, thanks for calling in. We're glad to have you.
But it will be.
Thanks, Connor.
See you, fellas. Serge.
See ya.
Man, Tim, Will. Later, fellas.
See ya, Connor.
See you, Connor.
Will, as we get ready to wrap up here, any big final thoughts? Oh, Will, you're on mute.
Just hoping we have a great game Friday night, and I hope it's close. Although, like, I see the Ducks pulling away, but yeah, just one last game for the Pac-12, and hopefully it's a great one. And hopefully whoever wins can win a playoff game. That would be awesome.
Fingers crossed on that.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Will. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Chris. Any final thoughts here for this game?
Nothing to add. We've talked about it quite a bit, but I just want to thank everyone for hanging out. Sure, we'll have a couple more shows, talk bowl games and whatnot, but I've had a really good time doing this, and I appreciate everyone hanging out. I hope everyone had an awesome holiday weekend out in chat and whatnot, and thanks again. Looking forward to the game on Friday. I hope it's a good one. See ya.
Well, I'm already coughing before I start talking, so I'll make this quick. It should be a good game, no matter what. It should be a high-scoring game, I'm assuming. The Huskies have to play flawless, and I'm just going to say it. Oregon's have to play a sloppy game. But I don't see that. I think Oregon's win this one, and I do think Oregon will be a force in the playoffs this year. They're the only team in the Pac-12 to ever win a playoff game, and it would be interesting if they follow up that first one with on, I guess, the last Pac-12 run, see how they can do.
All right. Thanks, Tim. Well, hey, I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight and all season long. Give a special shout out to the Cal Bears for a great win. Bear country. What is it? We're supposed to tell the whole darn world this is Bear territory. Congratulations to the Bears on a big win. Congratulations to Oregon State on a great new coach. Hopefully, we're going to give USC some congratulations on a new defensive coach. And thank you all for joining us. Tune in as on the USC channel. Tim and Matt do great call-in shows. Glad to have you for that. Tune in for our USC post game after what sounds like it's going to be the Holiday Bowl. And we'll see you right here as we get bowl news for the Pac-12. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful night. And as always, fight on.